Tomorrow marks the 40th anniversary of the single most significant battle for Australia in the Vietnam War. 108 Australian soldiers were patrolling near the village of Long Tan when they encountered a Viet Cong and North Vietnamese force about 25 times their number, and a fierce battle ensued. Somehow the Australians beat the odds and won the fight. Long Tan is seen today not only as a notable moment in Australia's military history, but also as a time to publicly recognise all veterans from Australia's controversial decade-long involvement in Vietnam. Yet the Long Tan survivors say they're still fighting, this time against a bureaucracy they say has denied them full honours for their deeds in Australia's name. Scott Bevan reports.
There's not a day goes past that I don't think something about that day, you know. It's always Long Tan that's on your memory.
Harry Esler and Peter Doyle have known each other for 40 years.
This has been a long time.
Their enduring friendship was forged in a few terrifying hours on August the 18th, 1966.
As we forget.
The day they fought the odds and fought for their lives.
There's something to be done together and we've stayed together.
Both were just 21. They were national servicemen in the 6th Battalion Royal Australian Regiment based at Nui Dat, and neither had any idea how the day would unfold.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They were looking forward to attending a pop concert on the base. Then came the orders that they and 106 other soldiers from D Company were to go on patrol.
When we were heading out, we were a little bit wet that there was a concert with Cole Joy and Little Paddy. And we thought, oh, we're missing out on this. We weren't too happy.
Peter Doyle and Harry Esler were part of 10 Platoon. It was one of 3 platoons in D Company on patrol, spread out across 400 metres as they headed towards the abandoned village of Long Tan. Then, in a rubber plantation near Long Tan, 11 Platoon encountered a handful of Viet Cong enemy.
Actually, I got a bit excited. I thought, oh, because before that, I don't think I'd ever fired a shot in anger, you know. And thinking, oh well, we're gonna have a crack here sometime along the line.
Suddenly, 11 Platoon found itself pinned down.
They were waiting to go to attack the task force base, and we just happened to arrive at the time they were about to depart.
In no time, according to Ashley Eakins from the Australian War Memorial, all of D Company was in deep trouble and vastly outnumbered.
108 men, surrounded, cut off, absolutely besieged by a force that was 2,500 strong from the best estimates, well-equipped enemy, determined, and launching human wave assaults.
It just erupted, absolutely erupted, just absolute mass of fire, absolute mass of tracer, and it was just on for young and old.
Commanding the company was a young Major Harry Smith.
People say to me, when you realised you're up against such a big force, why didn't you withdraw? Well, I couldn't withdraw and leave my platoon there. I had to try and get them out.
The Australians called in artillery fire, but still the Viet Cong kept coming. What was that like?
Pretty eye-opening. You still go a bit numb about it now, thinking about it. Harry Esler was beside me, he was one rubber tree away. And a silly thing happened that I was laying down, getting as close to the ground as I could. Harry was kneeling up to get a better shot. And I remember looking at him, I called out, I said, mate, get down, you'll get it.
I don't know if my mate Peter Doyle here had he held out to me. I don't know what would happen to me.
In the end, it was silly. I thought if I don't look at him, if I look at him again, he's going to be dead. So I stopped looking at him. And it's just self-preservation. I thought, if I don't look at him, he'll be right.
Amid a monsoonal downpour and the hail of bullets, the 3 platoons managed to gather together.
My soldiers would say, what do you reckon, boss? And I would simply say, yeah, of course we'll get out of it, you know.
Did you believe it?
At times I felt that it might be a disaster, that we might not get out.
To use the old saying, if you can, it was really getting down to guns for two and coffee for one. That's how bad it was, and I thought, this is it. And I saw this shape come through the gloom. It was it was unreal. I thought, oh.
Those shapes firmed into Australian armoured personnel carriers. The cavalry had finally arrived.
Probably 20 minutes we had, if we had that. And I think we would have all been with a set of wings on floating around up there somewhere, you know, but
17 Australians had been killed and another was to die from his wounds, but it's estimated up to 1,000 enemy lost their lives.
One of the significant things about Long Tan is that it saved the task force from probably a military and a political disaster.
The battle's pretty well unique in our history in Vietnam anyway. Such a small group to survive against such overwhelming odds, it's really became an iconic battle for quite obvious reasons.
Peter Doyle and Harry Esler may have left Long Tan with their lives, but Long Tan has never left them.
I can't sleep very well. I lay in bed and think, if that had to go on another 20 minutes, you know, I wouldn't have been married, wouldn't have had my son, wouldn't have been here talking to you. So it sort of makes me shake more than it did that day, you know.
The fight for full recognition of what they did on that day also continues. At the time, veterans say, the Australian government would not allow them to accept awards from foreign powers, including a citation from the then South Vietnamese government. So Saigon gave doles in gratitude instead.
To give infantry soldiers doles was nothing short of a joke.
A US presidential unit citation has since been approved, but veterans believe more could be done closer to home to acknowledge bravery with awards.
Well, I don't know what you've got to do to get one.
Harry Smith, who received the Military Cross for his bravery, is calling for a complete review of Australian and Imperial awards and citations in relation to Vietnam, saying some veterans have not received the honours they were recommended for and deserve.
I personally would be happy, and I think my soldiers would be happy to see the injustices that were done, and I say injustice in '66 because I believe it was, be rectified.
I do understand fully the sense of grievance and the sense of injustice that many of these men feel.
Prime Minister John Howard told Parliament today he had met Harry Smith and other veterans and further talks would be held. However,
the difficulty faced by any government in reopening a particular set of recommendations, having regard to changes that might have been made on the original recommendations, is that as one sense of grievance might be addressed, so many others are opened up.
Close to Parliament House, the 40th anniversary commemorations got underway this afternoon, bringing together the veterans and their memories.
You know, my feeling 40 years down the track is that it was very sad that we were committed to that war. We lost 520 Australians killed in Vietnam and 2,500 wounded.
You just think, well, we were lucky to get away with that, and it was a pretty big point in our lives.